What's up, everybody? Today I'm chilling with Bill, my hero, comic book artist and writer. Has also developed his own comic book character, which we will get into a bit more now. Bill, what's happening? How are you doing, mate?
Hey Steve, how are you doing, man?
Good, and yourself, man?
Pretty good, pretty good, pretty good. It's
Awesome,
been it's been
awesome.
a weird lockdown.
Yeah, I think it's very strange, but I think obviously we're just adapting to the times and we're just trying to figure things out. Obviously, we have the news that Comic Con Africa won't be happening this year, but we are moving online. So this is pretty much an appetizer to all your fans, all the fans out there, into the life of Bill Masuku online, right?
Yeah, yeah, that sounds good.
Pretty much
Um,
online. So Bill, right? First
yeah.
off the bat, what are you doing now? What's happening? What are you working on behind the scenes now? What do comic book artists and writers do in a situation like this?
Life hasn't really changed that much for like the full-time comic book artists.
Yeah,
At your desk pretty much from dusk till dawn, replying emails. Pretty standard. We don't go out that much. Like I was even talking to Jason on Instagram. It's like, no, life is the same. Like, oh, the world's ending, but like I got deadlines to
yeah.
to handle. So yeah, still doing comics, still writing. Same old for me.
Awesome. So I know, like, obviously the time now that we're in, right? Yes, we're in a lockdown state, but it also gives you a lot of time to realign, refocus, um, maybe get into a creative space. There's no distractions, not much distractions. Obviously, you stuck at home, stuck in one space at a time. So how creative, or how has this time been now for you in terms of your creativity?
It's actually like I know I said like life hasn't really changed
Mm.
before, but because I no longer have to plan, or at least for this year, I don't have to plan for going to a convention because it's a
Yeah,
it's a whole it's a whole like endeavor. Like for
yeah,
people who don't know on the creative side or the back end of making a convention happen, there's a lot of admin that goes into it. So now that I don't have to
yeah.
worry about flights, accommodation,
Mm.
this that, and also worrying about printing slash making sure a book is ready by Comic Con Africa.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I decided instead of trying to get out the whole of Volume Two or Part Two of Captain South Africa,
yeah.
I'd rather slow down, work on one issue, work on making my art better. So that I'll release it issue by issue, and then when the next convention comes through, I'll drop maybe two, three books rather than just drop
Awesome.
one book.
Awesome. So we're gonna benefit. We're gonna milk this out of you, right? You got the time, and we're excited to obviously see what you come up with during in this time, right? So you mentioned Captain South Africa. Like, a lot of fans might not know, but you are actually from Zimbabwe, right? Born and bred in
Yes.
Zimbabwe, proudly African. But what
Woo!
made you create Captain South Africa specifically?
Oh, how much time you got? Like this, it's kind of a story, but I'll try keep it concise.
Yep.
So when I had the calling, that sounds
Yeah.
strange. I had the
Hey,
calling
man,
to
it's
to
a
be
calling, man. It's a calling, brother.
I had the calling to be a comic book artist in my second year of university. I was like, no, this is actually what I want to do. Like outside of everything that I'm studying for, outside of everything that's happening, I want to make stories. I want to make
Yeah.
visual literature.
Hmm.
And at the time, I was studying in South Africa. I went to Rhodes University in Eastern Cape.
Nice.
Um, and yeah, it was. I think a lot of storytelling is about who you are and where you are.
Yeah.
So like if I and it's something that a lot of African artists experience is like some when you get to about 15, 16, you realize I've been drawing cities with harbors, like New York stories, because I've been consuming those stories. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you make that conscious pivot to now write local. You now write more what is in your immediate space, the stories that you hear from day to day, which is why a lot of long running cartoonists will talk about social political issues because that's what
Yeah.
they see in the news every day.
Yeah.
They wouldn't write about nonsense. I mean, that's depending on who it is. But back to
Yeah.
Captain South Africa, I was in SA for about 4 years, just studying for my commerce degree, and it just dawned on me that a lot of the stories that I want to tell fit better into a South African narrative. There's a lot of um, political boiling over. There's a lot of different voices contributing to the same narrative. There's how many languages, there's how many people vying for different ideals of the same thing. And I think that's what comic books are. They're very big what if scenarios, right? You
Yeah.
can read Superman, but like you read Superman Red Sun because what if? What if the Joker died? What if? What if? And I think where I was provided a really rich area of inspiration. I think that's why I started writing Captain South Africa.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I think what is so powerful about what you bring to the industry is the realness as well. I mean, uh, I think I'm not too sure how many people watching this have actually read Dio comics or they've checked them out. But I mean, it's the Captain South Africa brings a realness and not just a generic superhero vibe to what you normally see. And that I think is what I love personally about it the most. You know what I'm saying? So, like moving on from Captain South Africa, right?
Yeah.
We live in a space now where there's so much. How can we say pop culture or superhero content out there now? What differentiates Captain South Africa from the Avengers, from Justice League, from commercial superheroes that we see now?
Not much. So when I had started writing, I had no, obviously when you just do it for fun, you have no experience with it.
Yeah,
And so Captain South Africa was a dude. He was a very buff dude. You know, he had the stripes on his. He was like black Captain America. Like that. Like it is what it is. He
yeah,
was a black Captain America,
yeah.
and it was actually a lot of the people that I was dating at the time. That makes it sound like I was dating multiple people. No, 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 no. Keep it here. Keep it here. No, 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 no. The people.
Hey, Bo, you said it, man. You said.
The people. I said what I said.
You said what you said, man. People are gonna hold you to that.
It's okay. It's okay. Like come for me in the comments.
Yeah.
I dated a lot of feminists at the time.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it changed my perspective on not just my worldviews, but on how storytelling could be affected by your worldviews.
Yeah.
And so, I made Captain South Africa a woman because I was so inspired by these women that,
Yeah.
they will fight for Black Lives Matter. They will fight for Roads Must Fall. They will fight
Yes.
for real socio-political change. And I think that's what superheroes are at their base. They see something wrong with society and they don't see a system fixing it. So they themselves take the steps to work towards that. But like you said, that's a generic superhero story. What am I
Yeah.
bringing? It was back to the feminism, right?
Yes.
I don't think you can navigate a lot of the issues happening in Southern Africa without being aware of how feminism plays into that. And
So true.
it's like it's race, it's gender, it's class.
Mm.
And you don't see that in superhero stories.
Yeah.
Superman doesn't work in the ghetto.
Yeah.
You almost never see him like work in trailer parks. Never. And I wanted to write a story where Captain South Africa is based in Cape Town, and there's an app that the heroes use. I don't want to give too many spoilers. There's an app that the heroes use, and there's literal red zones where they can't go because the government says we won't provide aid if you enter those areas. And those areas are townships. Those areas are dangerous areas. And superheroes usually protect the rich. They usually protect like people who are already, safe from the dangers of crime and stuff like that. Gotham is a red zone, all of it. Gotham is a ghetto. And you can't fix Gotham by punching people. I think that's one thing I wanted to drive home at the first Comic-Con. When she debuted with the book 2. I don't want for her to punch criminals. It made no sense to me that you can't fight crime. You have to fight crime in a new way. And like superheroes are fine. It's not a broken like method of storytelling. But what was
Mm.
I gonna bring without just making them black and a woman? That's not
Sure.
inventive. I wanted to
Mm.
navigate how do you actually stop crime? How do you do that
Sure.
as a superhero?
Mm.
And I kind of wrote myself into a corner because it's so much easier just for her to punch the criminals.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, now I'm doing like deep research, like housing and economic
Yeah.
reform.
Yeah.
I'm so tired. Yeah. So
Yeah. I think,
it's
Bill,
a, yeah.
I think that's what's so powerful about what you brought with Captain South Africa is the fact that it was number one, it was obviously very close to home, and very close to the times that we're living in now with violence against women and children for one topic, and the fact that uh, stereotypically a superhero is a man that comes and saves the day, and all of a sudden is changed by the fact that the world is coming to an end, as opposed to a situation is arising, or another pandemic, which is women against women, and violence against women, which is another pandemic that we're living in.
Yeah.
um, is obviously is one thing that we need to highlight in that, and that's what I think I love the most about what Captain South Africa brings, is the realism to current local climate as well. So tell
Correct.
us, right? So obviously we our chats are always cool. I've had the privilege of meeting you a few times, and obviously sitting and chatting and chilling with you a lot. Most of the time we talk a lot of rubbish. Um,
True story.
but obviously I want to know, Bill, who who influenced Bill Masuku? Who did you grow up looking to, following, and obviously uh, doing more research on, basing your work on?
Growing up, we didn't really have like comic book shops, and getting a
Mm.
comic was just, it was a whole thing. You had to find someone who knew somebody who was going to the States. Like it was too much effort for what the book costed.
Yes.
And I only held my first X-Men book when I was in high school, which is super
Mm.
sad, by the way.
Yeah.
But I grew up watching the X-Men, the animated series. I grew up
Yeah.
watching, Spider-Man, the animated series. Like those theme songs are still in my head, like when I'm doing
Yeah.
action scenes. So I was influenced by a lot of the Marvel cartoons at the time, the DC cartoons at the time.
Mm.
I think it's why a lot of people would want to make superheroes, because those stories, they're sort of part and parcel of your Saturday morning ritual.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have DSTV for a couple of years. Our
Mm-hmm.
decoder got stolen. You know how it is. And I had to watch local TV, which seems like a punishment. I don't want to make it sound like a punishment. Um, but on one of the local channels, there was I'm gonna call it an animation. It was an animation with the samurai, and he had a scar on his cheek.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think it was a cartoon. I was watching this thing day in, day out. Like I'm slightly old, so the channel only opened at 5 o'clock. Like, you know how it used to be. And then at 10, like, you get the colored bars. Oh, I'm so old. I've lived through so much. Remember when they introduced 24-hour channels?
Breaking news. Breaking news.
Yeah, but yeah, I was introduced to the world of anime
Mm.
through this anime that was called Samurai X, and it was real sequential serialized storytelling. Storytelling. It's a tongue twister.
Mm.
I was watching Ed, and Eddie. I was watching Johnny Quest. I was watching, all these like cartoons that they're nonsense. Like what's this one? Cow and Chicken. They didn't name some of the characters. It was just the big red guy. That's
Yeah.
his name. And then there was anime, and there was some real drama to it. And it wasn't just the storytelling. It was the art. It was the music. It was the voice acting. Every part of the production made you feel something.
Yeah.
Even when characters weren't speaking, when nothing actually was happening. You had cherry blossoms just like
Mm.
floating across the screen. And you don't realize it if you watch one or two anime, but if you watch a couple, there's a lot of, you learn a lot about Japan and Japan's culture,
Yeah.
and through this storytelling. And I wanted, not at the time, but I definitely felt like there's so much that goes into making a story beyond the characters, beyond the plot, that I wanted to make stories. I wanted to make something that mattered.
Yeah. Sure.
And because, we grew up through dial-up, I didn't have much anime. I mean, there was Sci-Fi Channel, which
Yeah.
got weird. Then we had Animax, which also got weird. Um, and eventually, you get a Crunchyroll account, and then you have access to an
To
entire
everything.
library of content.
Yeah.
And so even in the way that I panel pages, I sometimes stop and be like, I'm drawing this the wrong way, because in Japan, like the words affect the
No.
way, and I'm like, do I read this right to left? I have to like I have to I have to stop and be like, this isn't
Am,
Asia, Bill.
how am
Come
I
on,
reading this?
come
How am
on.
I reading this?
So yeah, definite big influences from manga, anime. Tite Kubo from Bleach, Masashi Kishimoto from Naruto,
Mm.
Eiichiro Oda, One Piece, etc. I could go on forever.
Yeah.
The Wachowskis, who were also influenced by anime, who made The Matrix, definite big influence there.
Yeah.
And I'm still being influenced. I don't think you ever stop. Like, I don't think you ever reach a point where it's like no one influences me. There's an
Sure.
artist at DC Comics. I used to call him George Jimenez, but I'm foreign, and I heard
Yeah.
someone say Jorge. I'm like,
Okay.
oh,
That's how you.
that's how. Feels so silly. Yeah, Jorge's art is. I have to reach into my English bundles. Eclectic. Yeah, it
Sure.
has feeling, it has motion, and even
Wow.
he says I was influenced by anime and manga,
Yeah.
and just like aside from like the way he draws, the way he inks, like you'll see the fabric of like leather, the
Sure.
way I don't even know how to put it into words. You just watch him and it's like, how did you come up with this? Because effectively anything you draw is from your mind, right? Or
Yeah.
just a
Yeah.
collab. It's just an amalgamation of things that you've seen and interpreted. But it's just
Yeah.
so fascinating to see someone just draw pants. That's weird,
Wow.
right?
That is so powerful, man. So powerful. I know you a lot of people know Bill Masuku as the creator of Captain South Africa, right? As we've spoken. But there's a lot of people out there that don't know that you write novels as well. So tell us a bit more. First question is, how do you write novels and draw comic books as well? Number one, and number two is there a big difference between writing for novels, and then obviously writing for comic books?
You're asking hard questions in the afternoon, man. Um, writing for novels and writing for comic books, two completely different spheres of experience.
Mm,
And like let's throw away comic book writing for a second. Writing and drawing are two different like experiences.
okay.
Um, when you read a book, right, time occurs per word. Like
Yeah.
if the author's describing a forest, you're sitting there and he's describing the leaves and the grass and the bugs and the sunlight. That goes on for however fast your mind is imagining that.
Sure.
But in a
Wow.
comic book, you are working on beats. You're working on panels. You're working on pages. So
Mm,
you can't have these long pans of nothing for. I mean, you can, but you can't have these long pans of nothing that don't contribute to the story
wow.
visually.
Wow.
You you and you have to be cognizant of the fact that your time and your space are the same thing in a comic. An explosion in a movie or an explosion in a book, that's that could last like, I don't know, 20 seconds. A weird explosion if it lasts for a minute, and I don't know what kind of explosion
Yeah.
that's like. Um, but in a comic panel,
Yeah.
that's like, it's either a double page spread or a big panel.
Yeah.
And the bigger the panel, the less dialogue you can have. You can't have those two things running concurrently. I mean, you
Yeah.
can have narration, but
Yeah.
even the narration is limited to how much physical space you have.
Yeah.
In a movie, it depends on how fast you're talking or how fast people are, discussing an idea.
Yeah.
And it was weird trying to figure that out because everyone thinks they're a writer. Everyone writes Facebook statuses. I could probably
Yeah.
write a book if I had the time. Now it's lockdown. People aren't writing books. They're worried about masks.
Sure.
And what's funny is that I would not be a writer without Comic Con Africa because
Sure.
I met my publisher at the first Comic Con Africa, and
Yeah.
she says, I like your comic book writing," and I said, that has nothing to do with writing books.
Yeah.
And it's just been I keep learning how to describe particular things because my
Yeah.
brain swaps over from being an artist to being a writer.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is so much easier in Photoshop. I just gradient, filter.
Yeah.
I could go look for a stock image that I can
Yeah.
study off, but there's no stock images for
Sure.
language.
Wow, man. Wow.
Yeah, and
Sure.
there's just so much that goes into trying to make someone see what's in your head. And even if you describe something to the T, two people reading the same book will walk away with two different experiences.
Yeah. Sure.
Like the news. Like sorry, you were about to say something.
No. Go ahead. Go ahead.
If two people watch the same news article, they'll walk away with, inflation, but other someone will be like, the poor kids are probably struggling.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
people will bring their own personal experience into literature,
Mm.
which is it makes comic booking such a wonderful thing because now you have the visual and you have the literal, but you also have what the writer's trying to say beyond those two things.
Yeah.
So I'm still learning, but it's been such a fun ride.
Yeah. I think it's so powerful what you said there with the fact that that people can get hold. I mean, you can write a book or even draw a picture for that matter with one specific goal, and your goal and the outcome or the outlook from another fan can be completely opposite to what you've depicted or what you're trying to say for that matter. And I think it's so important to to for fans to realize the fact that what you consume as a fan of Bill Masuku stuff could be interconnected or could be completely different to that at the same time. But I think that's awesome, and I think just thank you so much for your time, Bo. I know your time is very limited, and obviously we've blacked out a little bit. But first of all, obviously thank you so much for your time, Bo. And I know everybody else. What we'll do is we'll just we'll drop all Bill's information in the comments below, and Bill will obviously be able to connect with Bill. I know he's open to commissions and he's obviously open to connecting with fans, and he's a very fan focused, fan engaging guy. So obviously drop to the comments below, connect with Bill, and we'll see you guys again soon. Cheers.